This week on the audio podcast, episode 77. Scott and Sam are both here. We have a mystery guest, who's not much of a mystery, but he's kind of in that way on the video right now. There's also news. There is this week on Twitter, an exciting new feature that we're trialing for the second time, and some presidential plunder. All this and more on this week's The Audio Podcast. It's the 6th of November 2012. This is The Audio Podcast. I'm Scott Hewitt. As always, I'm joined by...
Samuel Freeman, that's me over here. And we are also joined today by...
I'm Dominique Thibault.
Hello!
Hello, Dominique.
Mousquetaire.
Excellent. So, Dominique, I know is I'd like to say a long-time listener. I hope that's okay. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When we suggested to people if they wanted to come on the audio podcast, give us a shout and we'd have a little bit more kind of ad hoc guesting for a bit. Then Dominique replied back saying he'd like to come on. So hence he is here, which is cool. If you want to follow the show notes for today's show, obviously theaudiopodcast.co.uk. This is show number 77, which is all that sort of stuff. And I guess we should start with the things that Dominique suggested he wanted to talk about, because they end up at the top of the show notes because of the way the show notes are structured. That's
cool. So the first one of these is...
Good head start.
So should we start with Pio? We've mentioned it once, twice before, but only in passing. So do you want to tell us more about it, or why it's fun?
The reason why I asked you to put it on the show list is because it's actually developed by a good friend of mine, and I really think it's worth having a look at it for all of you guys that are interested in coding a bit more. I think it's really an interesting platform because it's not only specified for musician, but anyone that wants to integrate sound in their product, in their code. It's a really, really good library. As everyone knows, Python is a good programming language. I gotta say, I particularly enjoy it. But I think also the library offers you a lot of possibilities to play with audio, to play around with the audio, and it's really, really an interesting tool because it's created by a musician, but it really knows what he's doing, which is something rare I find with us musicians. We are never as sure with code, and programmer are not too sure about what has to be done on the music side. So I think that is a very interesting library. So should I talk a bit more about it, or projects, or I think a good link could be made with the second topic, that is Cecilia 5 actually.
Yeah, so as you said, Pio is a Python. It is a DSP processing library to go on top of Python. It has a beautiful kind of syntax, which is very obvious, and I found that knowing a bit of Super Collider, that there was a lot of similarities between the kind of structures and the kind of suggestions. So it is if you know Python and you've been kind of thinking of a DSP language to work with, then Pio is probably a really obvious choice to take a first look at. I know they have Radio Pio, which is a really cool kind of kind of thing you can log into and hear Pio kind of scripts being played out and generating audio, which I thought was a really neat thing as well. Could you mention a little bit more about Cecile 5?
Yeah, actually, so Cecilia 5 is a software that was developed with Pio. So until version 4, Cecilia was based on C Sound, and it was just a front end. In 5, Olivier Bélanger built from scratch everything, and it's really interesting because he brings in new modules. And to me, Cecilia is an absolute essential for anyone who's interested in sound design. It's a superb software that allows you to really manipulate sounds in a way that no other software allows you. Okay, so particularly interesting because it brings in lots of good feature that was in version 4, Python 4, and especially it's got new modules, so new ways of processing sounds that were brought with PIO, but in a very user-friendly interface. So that, to me, is the key features of Cecilia 5.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not something I've ever worked with. Sam, have you ever worked with it?
No, last time I was aware of. I've always thought of Cecilia as being the front end for C Sound. Not that I held that against it particularly, but like that was the way I was thinking of it. Yeah. So I'm really interested to hear that this is now using the PIO library for its main sound generation. That's really interesting.
And I think like it's really powerful. It is a tool that anyone interested in sound design should look to. You just tweak faders and go like find sonic results with only really easy to come up with something that is interesting, I'd say. Yeah.
Do you know if it will run on the Raspberry Pi? That's because like Python these days, as soon as someone says Python, like my mind goes to that straight away. Do you know if, I mean, it's only a, yeah, is that going to be possible?
It's a good question. It does work on all 3 platforms, which is already an advantage. But the Raspberry Pi, I don't know. We should try it. You want to try it?
I'll give it a try at some point, I'm sure. It'll add it to the enormous list of things to try and find out. Including Minecraft. Does anyone know if Minecraft runs? No, that's different. Completely off topic. Okay.
It could do, couldn't it? I think there's still there's probably the issue of whether you can get. There's the issue of Jack on a Raspberry Pi, but I know that the Closure and Overtone guys, Sam Aaron in particular, had a kind of tweeted out that he'd had some success running Super Collider and Overtone and Closure on a Raspberry Pi using, and I presume that was using Jack. So that's perhaps there's a kind of solution to those problems, and I suspect that means that this could possibly run. And maybe it might be an efficiency issue because obviously Python's quite a high level language, so it's not always as efficient as, well, it's not as efficient as say something like C is, but you know, it's you know, you'd hope that it would run fine. We'll have to try it out. See.
Maybe you won't be able to do additive synthesis with 10,000 sine waves, but you might be able to do, I don't know, filtering a sound file or something like that. Yeah.
As you see, I actually have a Raspberry Pi right in front of me. There we are. Yeah. It was just sitting on the desk beside me, so I thought I should pick it up.
Right.
Maybe that there. That's cool. Anyway. So what else did we have? There was also let's moving on away from those, the 0800 River Machine.
Yeah, this struck me as really interesting. So this appears to be it's Bandcamp. I've started talking. You're cutting out a little bit every now and then. So yeah, so this is an album of tracks for sale on Bandcamp, which includes the software that was used to make it, as far as I can tell. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So let me explain a bit. They decided that the easiest way of distributing that little piece of software was actually to use Bandcamp, since it's such an easy way of distributing right now. But I heard rumors that actually they had to get in contact with Bandcamp people so that they would modify the way of distributing. So it might be a new platform for the software distribution eventually, Bandcamp. So that might be of interest for some of our listeners. Also, I wanted to focus on the fact that it's a really good emulation of old analog drum machines. To me, that is, I'm always trying, when I compose music, I'm always trying to find good original sounds. And from what I heard, from what I tested, it is really interesting. It does sound, it has some character. So that's a really, really good sign, I find. So if I can talk in more generalities, like, to me, it's a very good drum machine that allows you to craft each of your layers very, very precisely, and at the same time in a way that is intuitive. Again, the interface reminds you of lots of software you've seen before, so that is very interesting, I find. Yeah.
Cool.
And it's made in Huddersfield too. That's another important thing to me.
Which used to be where the audio podcast was made as well, I guess. But it's no
it's
more.
true. I'm the only one now, eh?
Yeah, the only one still there. I know that. So I guess in the spirit of kind of cool things, making cool sounds, you also wanted us to have a look at the Pittsburgh Modular synthesizers.
That's another of my how can I say that? Sorry, my coup de cœur. So one of the cool products that I discovered this year. I really want to get it now. I just have to convince my wife. That's the only thing. So I wanted to talk about the Pittsburgh Modular. It's a little mini modular synth. It's basically a starter kit, and it's really built with ease of use and creativity in mind. Okay, so it packs I think 10 modules. You can. But it was all creative with a limit, like a low number of modules all put together, which is really good because with all of the other synthesizer company, I find that their starter kits are not as interesting or way more pricey. To me, that is a really, really good starter kit for anyone interested in analog synthesis. Yeah.
I would agree with this. This looks, it comes in as a little carry case, and there's...
Yeah, if I have one critic, I would add that it's a bit disappointing that the rack is full. I wish they would have left us a couple of rack of space so that we could add extra modules. Because already I'm thinking, okay, well, it's fun. It's going to be fun for 2-3 weeks to play around with those, but I'm going to want to add more stuff. And if the rack is already full, you need to consider buying another rack, and then it's a lot more money that needs to be invested. So, like, if you're like me, you're probably already thinking, okay, I'm going to buy the individual modules with a bigger rack instead. So, but it's a really good starter kit. What they put in it is very good.
Yeah, definitely so. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like it. So it's been all about creating cool new sounds, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's absolutely perfect. So we had a Pio and Cecilia 5 for kind of Python programmers, and then a kind of cool kind of analog emulation drum machine, and then finally this the Pittsburgh Modular as well. So it's been ways to make new cool sounds, which I like a lot. That's really cool. I'm gonna maybe. I was planning on doing some work this week, but perhaps I might have to put a little bit of time aside to have a look at Cecilia 5. I've actually tried to use Pio a couple of times before, and every time the installation, I have library problems with installing Python, and eventually I give up. Just Okay. I might try again actually though, because I haven't attempted to install Pio on my Fedora install, so I could maybe try it in there and see if that maybe they're fitting first time around this time.
All right. If you have more problem, you tell me. We'll hook you up with the right kind of people.
The right Python fixers. Would they be snake charmers? No, I'm not going any further with that. I'm sorry. So let's get into the news proper. If you're listening in or watching us later on, then don't forget you can get the show notes at theaudiopodcast.co.uk/show, and this one is 77. So you can find all of the show notes and everything we've talked about. If you want to comment on something, then you can grab the comments there. If you want to email us or complain at us, then ways of contacting us are all there as well. Sam, you look very puzzled.
Sorry, the first story in the list is one that I've not read very much, so I'm sitting back to read it. This is my serious face because of the nature of the story, I suppose.
So, the first item in the news is Sound Toys have announced that all of their online sales that were happening today on Monday are all of the profit is being donated to the Hurricane Sandy relief efforts.
Not even just the profit, all of their online sales.
Yeah,
a whole lot. Yeah.
So I thought that was obviously it's an advertisement for themselves, but I thought it was a big enough gesture that it was appropriate for us to list it. So there we go. For those people who have been affected by Hurricane Sandy, we express the appropriate remarks, I guess, for want of a better phrase. So those pictures were incredible. Like, the photographer inside of me was just amazed at some of the images that were coming out there of all those pictures and things like that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Shall we move on? Or do you... Or not?
Yeah, let's move on. I was trying to see if there was anything. I was looking at the Soundtoys products, or attempting to, but they have stuff, skins and things.
So, Pro Audio DSP has joined the Plugin Alliance, which we've mentioned a few times here. The new releases on the Plugin Alliance this week are the Pro Audio DSP DSM V2. And then Brainworks have also brought out a new limiter and compressor. So they're available for OS X and Windows and in AAX format as well, which that's a Pro Tools based format, isn't it, if my memory serves me correctly? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So, more dynamics processing for various things. I was kind of intrigued because we've seen a lot of dynamics processing being released recently, and there's in the kind of plugin world, there's definitely a kind of new focus on compression for tracks and compression for stems for individual elements, and it's been made me thinking like what the differences between those things maybe are or are not, or how to do that. Because I've always, as people know who've listened to the show before, I'm a big fan of kind of using spectral-based compressors, and prior to that being affordable kind of processing wise, or in the hardware world, I used to use kind of filtering to filter to EQ stuff out and then compress the different sections independently as well. So, and I always used to find that lets you use the same compressor across a full track as you would across an individual kind of stem. But do you guys have any kind of further opinion on that kind of thing, or?
Well, I believe that there's a big tendency of trying to have the cleanest possible like with Cameo and Sonalxis, they tried to do good products. I think there's all those companies that followed into the idea of having clean compression on individual tracks, I think. And then there's the other possibilities that I've seen is people interested in parallel compression, and then compressions that react well with various kind of materials pushed through them. And so to me, like, that's basically the 5 last years of compression, I think, that are there. Like, parallel compression got that, like, basically everyone's trying to do it better than their competitors, I think.
How about you, Sam?
I was mostly interested in your own compression going on here today. While you're talking, Scott, there you mentioned before we went on air that you've got a new setup on your rig there, and as you're speaking, your voice is fluctuating up and down quite radically as you move forwards and backwards. So maybe your settings need tweaking a little. I don't know.
Ooh.
Your own compression's perhaps not being monitored.
That's harsh.
It is, but it's true. This is my observation I'm making. So.
Oh no, I take that on board, I do take that on board. I am moving around a little bit more than I normally do. But
yeah, did you drink a lot of tea?
I guess so. I'm just moving a little bit. I got my cats are running around my feet and attacking cables. So
okay.
I'm just having to kind of fend them off a little bit as well, which is kind of moving me around a little bit more. But I do take that on board, Sam. I'll have a think, But I don't like to compress it flat though, and the Google Hangout does a little bit more. Well, YouTube does a whole load more once it gets rendered up. So,
okay.
I try to leave a little space, but I'll have a little play.
Will it help my accent, you think?
Whoa, Sheldon! Sam, take over.
Okay, if I'm taking over, then I'm just going to move straight on to the next thing, which I believe is the SoftTube story. I hope. But it is now. So this is SoftTube, and this is a classic. We're on Facebook. Click our like button contest.
Does those contests work? Have any one of us ever won anything in those contests?
I tend not to click like on them.
No, because I've never won anything.
I actually avoid participating in these competitions. I'm surprised they're actually allowed to operate, but I just when kind of Facebook pages first arrived, it was like against the rules to kind of promote the idea of liking them, but I suspect they've changed that now, and it's perfectly okay to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
For some obvious reasons now.
But so it is a cool competition though, in terms of you can win the entire range of Softube plugins. So it's a cool prize. It's a pretty cool prize. And did either of you try and enter? Because there are 3 questions, but I couldn't work out how to find out the 3 questions without liking them, which was something I wasn't willing to do.
No.
So hence I didn't. I suspect they're not going to be complicated questions, are they? These things tend to be fairly, take part more than anything else.
Yeah. Read the website and you will find.
Yeah. How about shall we go on to the next item?
Okay, so this is firmware update, is it, or software update?
It's a firmware update
for the DT series of stuff from Line 6. So these are the amps that are modular analog/digital amp heads and amplifiers, as far as I can tell. And this is version 2 software, free firmware upgrade. So.
Yeah. So if you have a DT series amplifier, not only will you get some extra kind of presets and kind of bits to program up for your sound, but they've now also released their Touch OSC mappings as well, so you can control it via from an iPhone or an iPad as well, which is kind of cool. For people who are querying how that's working, if my memory serves me correctly, you kind of have to interface via MIDI into the amp. So while you could do that via a more roundabout path, the path they suggest is using a kind of MIDI, plugging a MIDI thing into the 30-pin port on the iPad, on the iPhone, and then going in that way. But, I thought that was cool. We're seeing loads of Touch OSC stuff at the moment, which is kind of nice as well. Hey, let's get back to post-production and compression and stuff.
Yeah, so we've got 2 iZotope stories here. The first of which is their new monitoring stuff, which is called Insight, I believe. Is that what this is called? Yes, Insight. Yeah. So they've got a new... It's not actually out yet, but it's coming soon. And
yeah, coming soon.
More than just a traditional metering plugin.
Immediately detect potential mix problems. There you go.
Nice.
Through real-time visual monitoring, color-coded alerts.
And it adheres to standards like BS 1770-1/2/3.
Do you know what they are, Scott?
No.
I looked them up.
Standards, no. Did you look them up? Oh,
I
fantastic, Sam. That is commitment.
Well, first of all, it's forward-thinking to be adhering to these things, but the 1770-1 actually is quite a few years old. I think that was 2006 or something like that. Almost.
Okay.
But the 0.3 was only this September, and I'm loading up the PDF that I downloaded to remember the title, which is these are recommendations. This is a recommendation from the ITU, from the radio communications sector of the ITU, in fact. And they are algorithms to measure audio program loudness and true peak audio level. So this is an objective way to measure subjective loudness.
Fantastic. I hope you're going to put that link into the comments or add it to the show notes, please, because that'd be fantastic.
Okay, I will do this.
How about that? The audio podcast offering you insight and, and the titles of incredibly complicated documents. That's brilliant stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suspect that BS stands for probably something other than what I imagined it did, which is what made me think. Just in case you thought I was being...
Fantastic. Let's move on to our second iZotope story, but it's actually a SoundForge story, which is to say that Sony have licensed iZotope's declicker, denoiser, and declipper for SoundForge Pro for Mac. So for those people reeling from the end of BIOS's peak and desperate for some other audio mastering editor stereo tool that does everything, then Sony would love for you to try out SoundForge's
If I may say, iZotope, the denoiser, it's probably for those interested in a sound editor, perhaps it's a good solution, because then you have a decent editor that has been around for ages. I remember starting making music, and SoundForge was the first software I used, I think. And then now that they have denoiser, a good quality denoiser, it might be of interest. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was. I kind of started pricing it up a little bit, and I was actually intrigued to spot that SoundForge is definitely a good. It struck me that SoundForge plus these plus these isotope plugins is actually probably quite a cost-effective way of getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, probably.
Kind of cool. Definitely worth doing.
I don't know if they distribute with the SoundForge. If they distribute the VST versions of the isotopes, though probably it's built into it, eh?
Yeah, I think it's going to be built in. I obviously from the blurb, I like to read the blurb, and you know, I did love the way that it works like magic. I thought it was a particularly great setup.
Yeah.
I've for those people enjoying the audio version, they won't be aware of Sheldon, my cat, who is currently jumping around on my keyboard, on my kind of musical keyboard in the background of the shot there. Sheldon, please stop misbehaving. Oh, he's not. I'll try and ignore him. I'm glad the keyboard's off. If he turns it on, you'll actually start to hear his playing. So it's. I think it's rooted like that today. For something else I would do.
Maybe
so
it's become the new YouTube sensation.
Yeah. The YouTube cat sensation. Well, we should. That brings us to the end of our news section, which is very exciting. I've had an exciting time so far, and that maybe brings us to our This Week on Twitter section. Should that be its own section, or is that just an extension of the news, or could it be part of the other? I just don't know.
I just don't know. Should we put it in as other for now? Because then when you post the story afterwards, it'll place it correctly in the show note timeline thing.
In which case it will be. So you can follow the audio podcast at the audio podcast. You could, if you mention us in a thing, then this is your opportunity to sneak your way onto the show, if you want to. So basically, Dominique, you can join in if you want to. We just have a look down the things that are on the audio podcast feed, and
which would be quite difficult for Dominique to do, I think, seeing as you and I are signed in as the audio podcast. But
he isn't. Oh, that's so sad.
Dominique, perhaps you could sign into your own Twitter feed and retweet things, and they would probably show up at the top of things if they wanted to do that. There you go.
If you wanted to, well, shall we have a look? So Cycling 74, Video Trigger Max for Live. How about that? Video Trigger bang. That's kind of cool. I can't speak anymore. Oh, my tweet deck has just died on me completely.
Oh, no.
Sam, you go first while I just reload my tweet deck. See if I can get it working.
Presonus is saying something about 2 episodes of Drumtoberfest from Presonus Live are up on YouTube. Drumtoberfest.
That's awesome. Wow. Drumtoberfest.
That sounds great.
Especially that now we're in November. But...
Yeah, but maybe only just. I guess they've filmed it and put it up after. It's not so much live, but hey, we were going to talk about Presonus Live. Did that? We said we were going to, and now they're saying it's past. We missed that one. There you go.
I think we did, didn't we?
I don't know. I've not been here very much the past couple of weeks, so yeah.
That's awesome. Berenger, now introducing Steve. Oh no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not going any further this. Oh, I've retweeted one on behalf of the audio podcast, which I'm not going to mention. I'll put it in the show notes. I'm not reading it out loud, but it's kind of fun.
Okay.
Roland have released Windows 8 drivers. We haven't talked. Well, it's obviously happened, but Windows 8 has appeared. I'm just presuming that nobody's going to use it yet because it would be completely crazy to try. But if anybody out there amongst our listenership has installed Windows 8 and would like to come and tell us why and whether it worked or not, that would be awesome. I have no intentions of ever. Well, I have no intentions of trying to run Windows 8, but B, have no intentions of doing it in the near future in any way, because I just presume it doesn't work, and I don't want to spend my time without that working there. But anyway, that's what it could be.
I guess is it Windows 8 RT? Is that like their light version, their like mobile version of the thing? Is that being released at the same time?
Yeah.
What do you think the RT is for? Because like previously, I thought that maybe it'd be a real time. Like it's always a thing that's kind of sprung to mind. But now that we're on Twitter and we're talking about this, that maybe they're retweeting themselves as a smaller operators. I don't know.
The RT, I don't want to get into this too far, but the RT tablet is a ARM processor. So it's called Windows RT. It's running on an ARM processor, which means that it won't actually run your Windows applications because they're compiled for i386, not RT, not ARM. So it's a classic kind of Windows nightmare routing. So there is a Windows tablet which will run Windows applications, but that doesn't exist yet. Then there is a Windows tablet which is an ARM processor called an RT, which does exist, which won't run your normal Windows applications. It will only run specially compiled applications, and that does exist. There you go. And I'd probably prefer an Nexus 7 over them all anyway. Or from an audio point of view, you probably want an iPad mini, because that will run, or an iPad, because they run audio apps and they're nice and stable. Anyway, getting away from which tablet to buy for audio processing. head back to Twitterverse. That was a kind of crazy bit. Pure Mix have a shortcut for Pro Tools which copies the mix to sends. I'm going to retweet that. I think that's cool. Boom. Can I go boom after every retweet?
No one's going to stop you, Scott.
Okay, I'll do that. Sam, you're next if you're retweeting again something.
None of these things. Lee Freeman says that Adobe Premiere is the same as Final Cut Pro, and he has spoken. That's nothing was jumping out as interested to me, and then someone I know personally came out. So there you go, you're in.
This is fun though. Hey, I can see you've retweeted things already. That's awesome. That's cool. Oh, I see that the one that you mentioned there. Are we there? Is there anything else? There was a cool one actually, which would be part of our plunder if I can find it, but I don't know if I can find it. Oh, I can do. I know how I can get it. I can get it from me probably. Maybe I can't. There's this really cool picture that's doing the rounds, which is of I'm gonna find it. Sam, you find something else.
I was just looking at a picture to see if it was cool, but it's not. I wouldn't have mentioned it, but for what you just said.
Oh no, I want to find this. I'm going really quick. It's.
I'm not sure if this feature has much legs, to be honest. I mean, it seems like a good idea, but
I think it's fun, and we do it at let's face it. After this week on Twitter, we then do the plunder, which is generally equally as ridiculous. So people who are really wanting the keen, directed, focused insight, they know to stop at this point. This is for the people who just enjoy the the ridiculousness.
Well,
which is the audio podcast.
MuseScore have tweeted that Android turns 5 today, apparently. Ooh. So there's a tech story that we didn't mention, and we'll very soon play your scores. So Android is 5 years old and will soon be able to do stuff. That's the story there. I'll retweet that.
That is very cool. I like that. I tried it. It's something I wanted to put in the plunder, but I didn't. But now I wanted to mention it. I can't find it. I'm giving up. I'm giving up. It's just too. It's too much. It's too much for me. I'm just giving up. So there we go. Perhaps we've made it all the way through the audio podcast Twitter highlights for today. Oh, I found it. There we go. So this is fantastic, but it's a picture of Barack Obama hugging Bruce Springsteen, which I thought was awesome. So I wanted to include that in our Twitter highlights. So hence I have, and it nicely brings us into the plunder section.
Arg.
Fantastic. So let's get into the plunder. The plunder is, as you would expect, ridiculous, really. Which is the great thing about plunder. You should enjoy your plunder all. So here on the audio podcast, we're obviously UK based. We have lots of visitors from all over the place. It would be amiss of us not to acknowledge the American election happens this week. There we go. And hence, while we express no political opinions in any serious way and like to keep everything in a light-hearted manner, I found 2 items of presidential plunder which I thought were absolutely fantastic. So Joss Whedon would like to tell you why he thinks Romney is good to bring about the zombie apocalypse. Have you seen this piece, this YouTube video?
I did actually watch this. I often get to the plunder point and say I've not seen them, so today I did, and I mean, on the face of it, I thought you were going to be balanced there. We've got a Romney one and a...
I couldn't find anything. I did go looking for balance and failed to find anything in the alternative direction which was in any way entertaining. I'm sorry to say. It's whereas I thought these were funny. Chris Rock would also like to remind you that Barack Obama is the whitest candidate, which I thought was a fantastic sort of slight as well. You know, I don't want to express any political opinion on this really at all, but these are two fantastic YouTube videos which if you haven't seen, you should check out anyway. I suspect that if you're an American, these are not going to swing your vote in any way whatsoever. But from our kind of European perspective, they're kind of fun to watch anyway. So I would recommend watching them. Perhaps our Bruce Springsteen hugging Barack Obama hug could have fitted in there as well, but you know, such as it is. There is, however, a plunder item which is audio related.
There is, and this is something I was going to respond to in editing post today, but I haven't got around to it. So what you've linked to here is a video that of Behringer's making of what they're calling the biggest iPod dock, or what you've called that. So this is
it is the biggest iPod dock. That's what it is. It
looks pretty big, yes.
It is pretty big.
It would fit in any of our house. Yeah.
I don't think it'd fit in a car. It's a kind of lorry-sized dock.
I think 900. Is it 900 pounds or something? It weighs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a fun video. I thought it was a fun video, and let's face it, it's people only really make products like this for advertisement, and I think it's fantastic as a product for advertisement.
10,000K is what they say its power output is.
That's nice.
130 something dB peak on the thing.
Can you? Now, I haven't really. It's hard to get a real close look as the practicalities of it, but I suspect that as it's a dock, it should be facing towards you. You know, that's how docks usually work. The speakers are facing towards you, and the interface is facing towards you as well. So can you imagine attempting to select the next track if you have a 135 dB of full normalization coming straight at you? I'll get the ear defenders on and make the mix.
I clicked around to find out more about this, and the volume control for it is on the back.
It is on the back, is it?
The volume control's on the back, and they make a smaller version, which is obviously it's called, what's it called? It's called the iNuke Boom, I think is what it's called.
Is the iPod on the top so that you need a ladder to go and change the tune?
This brings me to my point. We've covered on show 42, I think it was, or something. I looked it up earlier today, and no, it was show 25. We mentioned that Jean-Michel Jarre had an iPod dock, which you did need a ladder to climb to the top and put it on. And in terms of loudness, it was just as big as this one, and it's not quite as wide, but it was a lot taller. So I think they're probably about the same volume. So, but that one was like quarter million.
But it's Jean-Michel Jarre, though. It's something else.
I feel sad for all of these boutique iPod dock makers, because now that we have the Lightning connector rather than the 30-pin connector, it's just going to be a little bit sad now. I have to change all these things. I'd like to play with it. That'd be cool to play with it just once, you know. It'd be cool. Actually, you know what'd be really sweet? I'm going to mention this. Behringer, if you want to, I am willing to make this video for you. Just supply me the thing and we'll sort it out. But it'd be really cool to do a really dry review of it as a product for your home. That'd be really nice.
On one of the videos I saw of them showing it at CES thing this year, CES 2012, they said that it won't fit for a standard door. You need double doors or to take a wall out to get it in. Like, that's...
Can't you buy it in pieces and
plug them in? It's like...
No, but the price does include delivery and installation when you buy it.
Oh.
Fantastic. Well, as we dream about the practicalities of installing the world's biggest iPod dock, perhaps that brings our show to its natural conclusion, to the end. Don't forget, if you want to, theaudiopodcast.co.uk, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, all that sort of stuff. I would love to hear from you if you have any kind of complaints or such. The audio podcast is going to be live at Creative Technology Live in Leicester, which is in a few weeks' time. So you can come hang out with us in real life if you want to. Always a great opportunity where, we're not wearing headphones. That's basically the difference. So that's kind of cool. We're not wearing headphones. That's great. Maybe I should wear headphones.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will.
That would be awesome indeed. Dominique, it's been an absolute pleasure having you joining us. If anybody wants to find out more about yourself, is there somewhere that they can possibly go? Where would you suggest?
Yeah, the people can listen to my music on my SoundCloud, so my first name, last name all together after SoundCloud. You can visit my website, so my first name - my last name.com. It's basically a blog where I try to update stuff. And you can come and talk to me. I live in Huddersfield, and I'm going around also.
That's awesome stuff. You'll find those links are on the show notes at theaudiopodcast.co.uk. I think we've hit the end, Sam. Is there anything else you want to remark about? Or?
No.
Congratulations
on doing the solo last week. That's the first time there's been a solo. I listened through to that just earlier today, and well done. Yeah.
Oh.
Shame about the microphone, eh?
I know, and now you don't like my compressor settings.
It's been okay since I commented on it. It's just because you were talking about compression, and I could hear the compressor going as you were talking about it. It's just too much for me to not say anything.
All right, Sam. All right, I understand that. Okay, this has been episode 77 of the Audio Podcast. I'm Scott Hewitt.
I'm Samuel Freeman.
And I'm Dominique Thibault.
Bye.